Hello. In this presentation, I will try to answer this question. In what ways can community-based tourism be a strategy for engaging with the archaeological heritage? To answer this question, I will speak about this project from strengthening the interpretation and promotion of archaeological heritage in Huasca, Colombia, which was funded by the Ministry of Culture of Colombia. The project was led by Álvaro Botiva, a famous Colombian archaeologist, and by me, Elias Botero, project manager. And of course, there was a team of creative people behind Andrea, Tatiana, and Andres. The project was co-designed with local communities who are also my friends. In this photo, you can see Mauricio, Christian, and Gabo, local leaders in ecological restoration and community tourism. Okay, first let's speak about Huasca and why Huasca is rich in historical and archaeological heritage. Huasca is in Colombia, the second most biodiverse country in the world, located between the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. As you can see, Huasca is just in the center of the country. This town is 1 hour and 16 minutes away from Bogota, one of the most crowded and important cities in South America. Another important point is that Huasca is located next to Chingaza National Natural Park, which means it's a territory rich in biodiversity and different kind of endemic ecosystems. This town was built in a valley in the middle of the mountains before the Spanish people arrived in South America. This territory was the home of the Muiscas indigenous groups. And during the colonization process, many of them were killed and their culture disappeared. Okay, what we know today about Muiscas indigenous groups comes from archaeological evidence and from historians, mainly Spanish historians. Next, I will show you some of the most important archaeological sites. Cerrito el Santuario, one of the most impressive archaeological sites, is located in the highest mountains in the region. Here, the Muiscas built what it looks like an astronomical observatory. If you look at it on Google Earth, you can see that they modified the hill to make this observatory that is really interesting. Here we have more archaeological sites with so many ceramic pieces that the people had found. Peña Negra, we have Cerro El Águila, we have Peña Cuadrada, we have Laguna de Siecha or Siecha Lagoon, that is one of the most popular destinations in the region, and it's also inside Chingaza National Natural Park. This place was one of the most important places in the region for rituals and offerings, and different pieces of ceramic and gold have been found in this place. So it's one of the most interesting to visit. Also, this is a Pajarito Stones rock art site, what is preserved by a local enterprise that offer accommodation and restaurant services. So now I want to speak about the community context. In Huasca and the Chingaza region, there are about more or less 80 local experts and tour guides who get their income from ecotourism activities. And for these people, for these local tour guides or local experts, ecotourism is not just an economic activity. It is a way for young people and local communities to help to conserve biodiversity and cultural heritage. Um, all the tour guides we work with were part of a community tourism organization. Around 70% of them were between 18 and 35 years old, and most of them were men. Okay, so I already spoke about the context. So with this context, we designed this project and we identified mainly three needs. The first one is that local residents and visitors are unaware of the pre-Hispanic cultural findings in the region. The second one is that there is a lack of training of the results of heritage studies, and the third one is that local guides don't have the skills to provide historicals and cultural experiences. So that these needs were the needs that we identified to co-design the project. Okay, so with taking that in consideration, we designed some methodologies and some components that we are going to speak about. The first one and the most important is the workshops. The core of the project was the implementation of 5 workshops that allowed engagement within local communities and the cultural heritage. These methodologies were the methodologies that we use were landscape as a didactic resource, participatory action research, participatory design, knowledge exchange between traditional and scientific understanding. In this first workshop, we visited different historical and archaeological sites. In the morning, we did a cartographic exercise to understand our context, and in the afternoon, we held a rock art workshop. In this second workshop, we visited the Siecha Lagoon. This workshop allowed local people and scientists to share knowledge. And in the third and fourth workshops, we worked with clay to better understanding of how the Muisca made ceramics. It was also a good opportunity to visit some of the local museums. And the last workshop was an storytelling workshop where we invited participants to create new narratives about the natural and cultural heritage. The second component was the creation of videos, scripts, bootlegs, and other interpretive material to promote community engagement and to showcase Huasca as a cultural destination. For this, we use community-centered approach and storytelling as our methodologies. This was a really interesting and nice outcome by bringing together the different cultural roots and both local and scientific knowledge. We created an audiovisual production called Guasca and its archaeological cultural heritage. By using storytelling methodologies, we designed this bootleg to create new narrative about the different archaeological sites. This illustration made by Andrea Zúñiga reflect the intangible cultural heritage of this rich and magic territory. We also created 2 interpretive scripts to improve cultural tourism at 2 of the main destinations. And finally, but not the less, one of the most important outcomes was a document, lesson learned document, where everyone can find information about the different methodologies and topics we covered throughout the project. To finish the analysis of this project, I want to highlight that it was not about promoting cultural experiences. It was more about enhancing collaboration between the communities, tourism organization in the region. It was not about, oh, let's create this fantastic project to promote the tourism. It was more about, okay, how we can work together, how we can create networking between the communities. A potential future intervention. Okay, from this project, we already have like histories and audiovisual production. We have already a cultural experiences. Now it's time to take this from the next level. So a potential future step is to develop a technological platform. This platform could allow people to explore the different routes virtually and provide a space for community organizations to connect with travelers. So this is more or less a potential outcome that we have taken in consideration what we have already done. So I want to know what do you think about this possible intervention, and thank you very much for listening.